So we'd recorded the lead vocals for this track called Fatal by Johanna.
Should have worn black, had nothing borrowed or blue. Wonder I'd say please
the
don't
verse.
forget, but I think that I want you to. Cold tea on your coffee table.
The vocal itself is fantastic. Johanna's voice is just insane. It's so like
Fragile things, fighting since we landed. Diamond ring,
really lovely chords, nice vocal motif.
keeping us distracted. Twisted realism put us here.
nice repetitive
Will this
melody.
just be another souvenir?
And so yeah, the verse, I wanted it to be quite up close. It's got a little bit of reverb on there, but I'm automating the reverb throughout, so the amount I'm actually doing it on the track with a plate reverb rather than on a send just for this song. So yeah, the first vocal, really minimal against the piano,
Fragile things.
bring you into the song and creating the intrigue. And then what I wanted to do for the chorus is to really elevate it, and something I think is a great idea for when you're recording vocals is to have a double track coming in, so a double of the lead vocal. What you need to do is make sure you know the song really well, so you can and know how to sing it, and you can double yourself. It's obviously not going to be exactly the same, like precise, but those subtle differences between the two takes create a really nice effect. And you have the main vocal at the normal level, and in this case, and often, the best way of doing it is to have the vocal double pretty quiet in the mix. This is the chorus without the double.
Now we stand under the chandelier. Cold tea on your coffee table. Burnt out light bulbs, this feels fatal.
And it's really lovely. You go from the verse like this.
Inertia's easier than being unclear. Now we stand under the chandelier. Cold tea on your coffee table. Burnt out light bulbs.
So absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sounds cool. But kind of really want it to be more intense and have an extra dimension to it. So this is it with the double track.
Now we stand under the chandelier. Cold tea on your coffee table. Burnt out light bulbs, this feels fatal.
And it feels like a lift. If I turn it on and off throughout the chorus, you'll hear the difference.
Now we stand under the chandelier. Cold tea on your coffee table. Burnt out light bulbs, this feels fatal. Worn out mattress against the wall. The higher we climb, all the further we fall. My love, we're fatal.
Love it. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer just to double yourself up and just have that coming. And then obviously the actual volume's really low. For something more dramatic, you might want to crank it up. Some more modern pop stuff, you do multiple layers of the same vocal and then you just blend them. Billie Eilish does that a lot. A great technique. This particular song didn't need all of those layers. It's quite a sparse arrangement. Moving on to the harmonies. So when you get to the verse, the second verse has the harmonies coming in, and you'll hear what I've done there quickly.
Honeymoon on film, developed at funerals, nothing to rebuild. We wrote our own crucible.
What I do with harmonies is try and not have them get in the way of the lead vocal. So I sort of generally do a little bit of a pan, and I love the double track harmonies. So the same harmony sung twice.
Honeymoon on film, developed at funerals, nothing to rebuild. We wrote our own crucible.
Really nice. And so yeah, recorded one, panned it slightly to the left. It's like 21, minus 21 to the left, and the second one, same but to the right. They have been EQ'd a little bit, so they're not got exactly the same tone as the lead vocal. And they're going to a bus where they're being EQ'd even further. And in this case, pulling out the breathy top end and some of the low end and keeping the mid-range. Didn't really want to carve it out too much in this song because, again, the vocals are such a big part of it. This is piano and vocal a lot of the time. So I need the vocals to have a lot of body and feel quite pronounced. So yeah, here it is together.
Honeymoon on film, developed at funerals, nothing to rebuild. We wrote our own crucible. I should have worn black, had nothing borrowed or blue. I knew I'd say please don't forget, but I think that I want you to.
Sung amazing. So obviously Johanna knew the song extremely well and was so tight at recording those vocals. Those harmonies were really locked in as a double track and to track really well with the lead vocal. And they slightly increase in intensity towards the end, which is really nice. They lead into the next chorus. Having them sort of pan slightly left, slightly right means that the the ear has that lead vocal still in the centre, very much centre stage, and these harmonies are just surrounding them. And you can be more extreme with the panning. In some cases, I'll pan them hard left and half right, or maybe have 4 harmonies. All depends on the actual arrangement of the song. And like I said, this one has a more sparse arrangement, so it didn't really need to go crazy. So that's the verse and the chorus. But when we got to the bridge, which has a real change, the song gets faster, quite a lot faster, and the vocal jumps up into this higher register. It's really intense. It's like, yeah, amazing. So we had the reverb. I was just thinking about reverbs and thought, well, I love this plate reverb, and I just chucked it on the channel as an insert rather than on a bus, just for this particular track. Actually, for speed, if anything. And then as I was dialing in that reverb, we were listening back to it, and I was cranking the volume just up and up and up and up, just to feel like what it would sound like. And then normally I would turn it back down again, because who has a reverb like crazy amounts of wet on the channel? It's not normally what you do. But as it was happening, Johanna was like, whoa, what's that? I really like that a lot. Let's keep that. That's amazing. That's perfect for what this bit of the song needs. So I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And then we basically ended up just automating that with a performance. So as it was playing back, I'd put the automation in latch mode on the left, just turn this wet knob up as the song played, and it recorded the automation. Just, I do that a lot rather than sort of drawing it in. And yeah, listen to how it sounds.
We were nothing but a hobby, left you crying in the hotel lobby. They said life now will be gorgeous, didn't know they were trying to warn us. Empty pictures and broken frames, lovers' eyes but a hollow gaze, and the memories always were. Still, this isn't some child's fairy tale.
And I've got this other additional chop of the tail of fairy tale, which I applied some delay to, just to kind of create a transition. So if you listen to this, it's on its own, and that just gives that space. So yeah, love that reverb. You could do that same effect with a Logic reverb, like a stock reverb or anything really. But I really love that particular reverb from Arturia. I use it a ton. So we ended up having this sort of white noise sound, which I made from the Minilog synth. It sort of fades in, a bit like the ocean. And then the lead vocal for the last section and the piano, it's really, really minimal if you listen.
Cold tea on your coffee table.
Because it's so kind of intimate and subtle and soft in that high falsetto voice, it's literally got no reverb on it.
Cold tea on your coffee.
That's the brim reverb.
Burnt out light bulbs, this feels fatal. Worn out mattress.
And what I did, because that vocal was recorded in a different take to the piano, they were done separately. And then I went to the piano track afterwards, and although you can't quite see it right now because I've hidden the track, these piano hits here, which are this green track here, I actually used a flex time effect to move the hits so they landed in time with the vocal, so it feels like they're simultaneous. It's really hard to get that when you're actually recording live because they're not really set to a metronome. There's not really a click or anything keeping that. It's just done really free, and so you can always change that afterwards. It was pretty close, and Johanna was great at singing along, but just making them really land. So if you hear that first one, after all of that space,
Cold tea on your coffee table. Burnt out.
it's really important for me that they landed at the same time and had this sense of coherency.